What's happening, everyone? We're back today with another video. We're not actually doing anything today, but I was meant to intro and outro my video on the weekend, but I actually forgot because it was just a long day. We just wanted to get the job done. But we are actually fitting a pair of drive shafts because the CV boots on mine, they've had pinholes and been throwing grease all over the wheels, and they've been just fucking up my wheel brushes when I've been like trying to clean the car. Probably thinking, oh, why don't you change the CV boot? But normally when they start leaking, that's it, the joint's fucked anyway, and mine were just rusty and nasty. So it's time for out of the old and in with the new. But yeah, let's just get to it. Okay, so we're going to be just starting off with a 32mm socket to remove the hub nut from the drive shaft. If you don't have a gun, just get someone to hold the foot brake in the car and just crack it off with a breaker bar. That usually does the trick. To release them slightly, I'm just going to give them a quick tap with a hammer. Preferably you want to do this with a punch if you're looking to save the actual drive shaft and just do like a CV boot or something, or anything like related to having to remove this shaft, and do so. If you don't give a shit, then just give it a quick tap. You won't really damage it anyway, to be fair, unless you give it a real good wallop. Okay, so what you're going to need is, my car has a 17mm nut and a T45 for the wishbone ball joint. Yours may have a 15mm and a T50, so just bear that in mind, because mine are stainless steel bolts, which look like shit because it's on a daily. But yeah, so just going to quickly do that and undo them. As you see there, you'll need an extension because I fucked up and forgot about all of it. So yeah, just got an extension on it now. Just quickly give it a buzz and it should be all good to go. Okay, so once the nut is off, and you'll probably just find that you have the bolt in there, you can undo it by hand, or you can just be careful, use a punch or like the end of a hammer. Just give it a quick little tap. Obviously I'm just going to do it by hand to loosen the other end of the bolt and get the rest of the nut off, and then I'll probably just end up just giving it a little tap, but just trying to get the correct socket, which should be a T45 on my car. As you see, it takes a few turns just to get the nut off of the nylock, allowing me to turn it freely by hand. And then I can remove the nut and washer, which I'm doing now. And then the other end of the bolt is loose enough to allow me just to give it a quick tap through. And I can take the bolt out. Right, so usually you will hit the hub at this point to break the taper of the ball joint. Or you can hit down on the wishbone, that's what I prefer to do. But Luke, using his absolute wedge strength, just leaving it clean out of the hub with no fucks to give. As you see, I'm grinning there. I was laughing my head off, to be honest. Okay, so now it's all out, you can actually get the drive shaft out of the hub. Again, just a couple little taps with a hammer, and you can see the shaft is moving a bit more now. And then hopefully you should be able to just wiggle it out of the hub. This side was a bit shit, so Luke was just giving it a wiggle and I was just levering the rest of it out. But we got there in the end. Okay, so now we'll go underneath the car, and there's two 13mm nuts there that you need to remove for the drive shaft bearing. And it will just literally hold on a little plate that just keeps the drive shaft secure in that certain spot. The only things you're going to be able to get in there is obviously a socket and ratchet like I've got, or if you have a battery ratchet you could just do it a bit quicker. Okay, so now I'm just undoing that by hand. Taken about 10 years because I hate using ratchets. Okay, so now it's off. You can either remove the shaft just by giving it a little wiggle like I do, and with a bit of force, or you can just tap it where the bearing sits. As you can see, there's a nice little area where the bearing sits there, and you can just give it like a little tap with like a screwdriver and a hammer. But you could just literally sometimes just pull it out like I did. These shafts have been removed before, so they were going to come out a bit easier than say what you guys would have had to do. Okay, so now the old shaft is out, we'll just go and get a new one to refit. Same procedure, just literally backwards. Don't really have to say much, to be honest. It's just literally refit the shaft into the box. You will need to just like sort of pull and push back and forward. You'll see the movement. Just be careful not to pull the shaft out of the actual what's it, like the flange, like we did, and we had to just refit it back in, because it could be an all world of problems if you haven't done this before. As you see around now, it just pulled out and it wouldn't spring back in. So just be very careful when you're doing this. But usually you just do it to virtually hammer the shaft in. It's quite a nice little technique to use, just not a lot of force, and it will actually just fly straight back in with no issues. Now you can see we're just gently tapping it just to actually get that shaft back into position, which it is. And now we can just refit it into the hub. Again, you've got to pull the hub out and just literally turn that CV joint as much as you can to get it back in. Driver's side is quite difficult to do for some reason. I think it's just due to the sheer length of the shaft. But with a little bit of teasing, and once my head's out of the way, you can actually see that the hub is now in the shaft. Then it's just a case of bolt that bracket back onto the bearing. As you can see there, 2 13mm. Just make sure they're evenly tight. And just a little nip on both bolts, and we're all good. Don't over tighten them, because you'll probably end up snapping the studs. They do take quite a lot of like tightness, but just be careful when you're doing it, because it's easy to snap stuff. Now, as you can see, shaft is in the box. Brackets for the bearing is all bolted together, and now it's in the hub. It's just a case of now just bolting the hub nut back on, retightening that, and then obviously just putting the wishbone back into the hub. I will say before we do the wishbone, your one, you should be able to line the wishbone up, and it should be able to just snap back into the hub, because it's got quite a nice taper on it. But where my one's quite worn and old, it's got no play in it, but you can see where it doesn't actually want to spring back in. It's like the original wishbone on the car. It's probably never been changed by the looks of it. So we just have to give them a quick tap with a hammer just to get those tapers sitting back in. So as you can see, when I get it lined up, it doesn't actually do anything. You could tell it's virtually useless. So I'm literally just having to sort of fight it. As you can see, I'm trying to wiggle it, but it's not having it at all. But yeah, we just got result to the hammer, give it a few taps, and it should be all good. And before fitting, just remember that there is like a little dust cover shield that protects the boot. Remember to refit that over. It literally just slots over the top. Okay, and as you see now, we got the taper to hit, like grab, and then we just hit it home. And now I'm just tapping the bolt through, which will allow me to just buzz the nut back on, and that side is pretty much done. I didn't show putting the wheel back on this side or anything like that, because it's not really necessary. Like I had the wheel already off before I was filming, so I just wanted to get to the second side because it's not too much different, but you've got no bearing and stuff like that, so I just wanted, and obviously removing the shaft from the gearbox is a bit more different too. Out of the two, I'd probably say the driver's side's a lot easier personally, because the passenger side always seems to get more stuck into the box for some reason, and it's a lot harder to actually get the shaft out. Okay, so Luke got bored, so he decided to do this side, and I'll leave this in. He threw my wheel on the floor and I was cringing because of my bottom lip, but I was only pulling his leg mainly because the wheels need a refurb anyway, they're fucked, but it's all good on that note. So again, you'll see he's just going to remove the hub nut, give the drive shaft a tap through. As you can see, he's a bit more reckless than what I am because it's all fucked and it doesn't matter, but he does the job same and he doesn't fuck the shaft, so it's easily to come through. You'll just turn the wheel full lock like I did to allow him to remove the bottom arm bolt for the wishbone, which again, no different, 17mm T45, or in your case could be a 15mm with a T50. This is us two wondering where the hell the T45 went, but eventually we found it. And I'll just get it into place while he guns it off. Okay, and then he just gives... He did go straight for the bar because I think he was just in a reckless mood. But then I said to him, look, you've got to take the bolt out of the hub first, otherwise it's a no-go. So he just quickly... give the bolt a quick tap, and then he decided to use his wedge power again and just destroy the fucking shit straight out the hub. As you can see, no fucks to give, just smash straight on with that snap-on bar, no issues. Okay, so as you can see now, we're just getting the hub off the drive shafts, and as you can see there, he was saying to you guys they were his safety shoes and you must wear them because he's in socks and sliders having a laugh. If you guys do want a video of us actually like talking and stuff, we will sort of say keep it more PG because we do say a few things that are a bit across the line, but yeah, please comment down below because you'll probably have a right old laugh listening to us too. But to remove the shaft, as you can see, I've just put a bar underneath the shaft end at the gearbox and was just smacking it with a hammer, and eventually it frees it from the gearbox. You will find this is quite difficult because we actually broke a bit of cast on the gearbox when we did the clutch, so my bar fitted quite nicely in there, so just bear this in mind. This side will take you a bit longer to do, and obviously if you haven't done it before, you will be in a world of pain, if I'm honest with you. But yeah, just take your time. I'm not going to tell you to break your gearbox because you'll probably end up fucking chiseling a hole in it or something, and then you'll try and deem me responsible, but it's easily doable. Just take your time with it, put the bar behind it and just tap it at the hammer and it should free it, hopefully. And again, the same shaking method to put the shaft in, you would have seen, but my fucking stupid head was in the way, and we're just literally bolting up the shaft again. Remember to always put a drain pan, like a drip pan underneath the box as well, due to the fact of oil pissing out, especially on the passenger side. It's always worse. And as you can see, that section of where the shaft sits into the box, it is quite hard to get something under there, and you saw an area where the actual bit of casting was broken off, which allowed us to get in there. Okay, so now we're just going to be fitting the ball joint back into the hub, and then there's an episode of me arguing with him which way the bolt went through, and he was right. It's just me talking shit, really. But yeah, he's just using his hand as a hammer to get the fucking ball joint in. literally no fucks to give. But he's successful, and then he just decides to finish it off with the hammer. Okay, so now he's just going to put the bolt through, and as this is a bit where I was saying we were arguing about which way it goes through. But he was right, so we're just going to quickly bang that back in, no problems at all. And then obviously it's the same as the other side, so I don't really need to go into much detail with it. But then we get on to the point of actually topping up the gearbox oil. So you'll probably be thinking, oh, you're not doing it level, but eventually we did lower the car to make sure the box is level so we didn't overfill it. And he just made the joke of leaving the bottom ball joint bolts loose, which you do not want to do, otherwise you'll crash and die. So make sure they're nice and tight, but not too tight, because I've seen people snap them in half with no issues at all. But yeah, make sure the car's on level ground when you're actually doing the, or as level as you can when you're actually topping up the gearbox, otherwise you can get yourself into a world of pain. You'll end up blowing seals out of it, and it will actually end up not lubricating certain parts of the box, even though it has more oil than it should have in it. So just bear that in mind when you're doing it. When you fill it up, you actually want it to be dribbling out of the filler plug hole, and then you leave it till it drips out slowly, and then you can plug it back up. But to do this, you've got to open up that flap on the front of the gearbox, as you can see now. Remove the gear linkage cable, the longest one, by just pressing in the little button and then twisting the other end of the cable, and it should come off the box. My one's a bit knackered, so it doesn't, I can take it off without twisting it. It's just putting it back on I have to twist it. But you guys will probably have to twist the actual gear linkage cable. And then once you've done that, it will reveal a 8mm Allen key bolt, which you'll just want to crack off and remove. And then you can put in your little fill up tool or whatever you want to do to actually put the oil into the box. I have a plunger action one, you can buy them for about 20 quid online. And all you do is you pull the plunger out with it in the gear, like the oil tub that you've got, and then you push it back to fill it up. It's pretty simple, to be fair, but very effective. I'm not going to show you me filling up all the way because it's just boring and no one cares. You just want to see how you do it. But yeah, that's pretty much it really. Nothing too strenuous. And then it will just be a case of putting it all back together, which will be time lapse through. We've just removed that out now, and then I'll just reload the car and then topped it up properly. And now it's just me boxing it back up, which is just fitting the gear linkage cable back onto the mount tune bit by just pushing it. Takes quite a bit of force, and then you just refitting the other end onto the metal bracket and twisting it so it locks in place. You can't really see much here, so I do apologise. It's not too great, I must admit. You could pretty much just see my arm, but yeah, you get the idea. Once it's basically just reverse of what you've done removing it. And all you got to do is just close that plastic lid back up, drop the car down, and you're ready to go. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to see more content, please like, comment and subscribe. We're so close to that 750 mark for my giveaway. If you don't know about my giveaway, be sure to check it out. I think it's the last 2 videos I think you want to have a quick look at. But yeah, if you want to have a quick look at the giveaway, just all you need to do is comment on that video your Instagram name, and that's all you need to enter the competition. We're going to be doing it on a random scheme, so I don't just pick no one, it's all done randomly. But yeah, if you do want to see more, please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you later.